could be the normie Bitcoin standard.
Correct.
Okay, I've pre-ordered that on Audible.
Yeah. Hello.
I think I just
This is a new Ross.
You can tell he's got a few satoshis now, hasn't he? Fucking, what's the tenner? Fucking gone. Because it was in Canada. No one cares about Canada. So, and I think if anything, he purposefully not marketed it to Bitcoiners.
There goes our Canadian audience.
Tom, if you're listening, look up your ideas. Your child needs to learn about Bitcoin. Stop being a loser.
And it's, if you get more of something, it is worth less. The same with fiat, and that's why the big problem is about inflation.
I'm pretty sure it's about 4 episodes ago, though, you were saying how good the minimum wage was. just
can't
good
mess
at
with
this.
the guy that edits the shows. You know, he not only lives it, he relives it.
Yeah, I'm just throwing it out there. I think you've grown since that episode. You've grown.
Anyway, we're going to talk about more interesting things.
Yeah, go on. Let's move on to.
Are we going to start about the interesting tales of Binance?
Yeah, go on. Start at the top. Yeah.
So what does this say? Well, Barclays have banned them. They're apparently banned by the FCA, but Binance are disputing this. So it's not completely clear cut. It doesn't really. I think they're applying for to be regulatory covered. I'm not very clear on what's going on because I've read a few things and it's very scarce on detail across anything.
Yeah.
I just know that Binance claim that they are back. They are meeting the regulations and they are compliant, whereas Barclays are like they're not. And the FCA seem very unclear with what they're actually saying. They said that only 5 crypto companies have registered with the FCA, and there's dozens who are in the process.
It's a bit of a weird one because I have a Binance account. They followed the same KYC sign up than all the other exchanges have. They have all my details. Just I have an account on most exchanges just because I don't trust exchanges, so I like to have as many as possible so I can buy Bitcoin when I like in case I get one account closed. There's another account open somewhere else. So yeah, I can't see why, but the main thing that I can see with Binance is I don't think they completely follow all the Western rules in America and in Europe. I don't think, like, by the letter, because they're Chinese, so they follow their legislation over there. But I think the biggest probably rumors that have come out over the last week or so is that China and the Chinese government themselves have started going after Binance and have a problem with what they're doing. So there's been rumors the last week to go, look, get your funds out of Binance if you do have any in there, because it looks like China's going after them. And then the last couple of days, it looks like the Western kind of countries are also being flagged by this and going, I think in reality, they've probably been given the heads up a little bit that, look, this money's going to get frozen. This account, this exchange is under some type of threat from the Chinese government. So we just can't be bothered with our money leaving our accounts going there and then having our customers kind of come to us because certain money is guaranteed and the liability is on us. So they're just blocking it.
So what you're saying is Binance are the corporate Jack Ma of the world.
Yeah, it could very much be, and it's CZ. CZ's the CEO. He's quite outspoken as well. He's trailblazed. He's one of the quickest billionaires in history because I think he's in his early 30s, and he went from working as a developer in a small Chinese exchange to leaving that, founding Binance. And I think in the space of like 3 or 4 years, he went from less than $1 million worth of wealth to billions by creating the largest exchange in China. So yeah, he is in Jack Ma territory with that type of influence. And it wouldn't surprise me if the Chinese government have come down and gone, look, you need to do X, Y, and Z. And he may have gone, nah, I'll do that, but I'm not going to do all this. So they've gone, bring the hammer down, teach this boy a lesson.
Yeah.
He lives in a dictatorship. When we say jump, you say how high. This is how it works here.
Yeah.
So, and I think what's happened is the Western companies have got wind of this, and they've just gone, "Oh shit! Before the shit hits the fan, let's just try and get as many of our customers' funds money, like not going there." But it does show, like, as much as it could be a good thing in this scenario, it's still bad. The fact that your bank can stop you sending money somewhere, it should be at your risk, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I guess as well, because when I was thinking about this, we all know that cryptocurrencies are the arch nemesis to CBCDs as well. So, that's, and obviously China have their own digital currencies. So it just continues to promote that. We don't want you using any form of cryptocurrency. We want you to start to buy in to our digital currency moving forward.
Yeah, but they are launching there, so it may be just a way of taking it out. Like you said, there's a couple of things which it could be, but it's not really clear what the hell's going on. Something is definitely murky under the water, but we just can't see what it is in our pleb status.
Well, I think you can piece it together, because like the next story we've got is China then banning the Chinese mining activity.
Yeah.
And people packing this up and taking it. And I think you're right, Darnell. They're clearing a way for their digital currency.
Yeah.
So they want to shut down the biggest exchange. They've shut down mining. What are they doing there? They basically want a monopoly on crypto as they see it. And there will be only one crypto, but it'll be their Chinese bank issued version of it.
Yeah.
And they want to shut down the gateways in. And obviously mining is a very nice back doorway in, because you literally mine it and mint it yourself. So they've shut down all the ways of getting crypto. If they shut down Binance and they shut down illegal or make it mining illegal, that's crypto gone in China. And they can now issue their own, and they leave it for 10 years, that won't get adoption, and then maybe let the others in once you are number one.
Do you think, though, there's two opposing parties? Because countries, as we know, were adopting Bitcoin, and China were one of the largest, if not the largest, miners of crypto as well. So on the one hand, they should still be mining it because they had a great head start, and obviously they had vast numbers as well. So maybe they should still be doing it, but centralizing it themselves, sort of thing.
Yeah,
and then also doing the CBCDs on the other side.
I was going to say, you got a difference here. You've got allowing the plebs to do it and allowing the government to do it to make profit.
Yes.
So you disallow the plebs because you lose control. If you don't control the currency, you don't control the people. So therefore, Bitcoin is not in their interest. But in terms of a profit, maybe they have confiscated, hundreds, thousands of coins, maybe even millions for all we know, and they'll just sell it when it peaks next time. They'll be watching it because the Chinese are watching the world. They are looking for what on earth's going on, like with El Salvador. They'll be like, okay, the next couple of countries will see the coins go right up. We'll sell the coins off, make a massive profit, bring it in. We buffer our reserves, and then we promote our own cryptocurrency internally.
But they're smarter than selling it, because, and you got to think, China and the Chinese kind of strategists that they are, they've gone from zero to hero in terms of being the leading capital nation. Within the next 3 to 4 years, they will overtake the USA. So they'll be, they'll have that. They could also have their own digital coin, and they could also be in control from a Bitcoin perspective from a country as well. So they could, win on all fronts of fiat, digital, and Bitcoin, if you think about it.
Yeah, they could always crash. They could crash other economies. If there are lots of Bitcoin. If we get our circumstance of what Venezuela, Brazil, Argentina, El Salvador, most of South America, and if it does break into a big country like America, then that's when the Chinese would let rip, I imagine, to crash their economy. I suppose to South America, they probably wouldn't care. So they're not a big enough threat, are they?
No. And I know it sounds like we're China bashing, but at the same time as well, I know for a fact that they've bought a lot in Africa as well. Like they have purposefully been investing into Africa. So then obviously they then own those parts as well. So
but they're in debt for infrastructure, aren't they, in parts of Africa?
Yeah.
They can't repay it, so they keep on extending the terms.
Yeah.
But, it's also their way of building relationships around the world. So it kind of goes into America have their old forged relationships, and they don't like the new countries. But China's quite happy to be their friend and lend them 100 billion.
Exactly. And I've also forgot as well, the fourth thing that they have been accumulating is gold as well over the time. So they really have, like, in plain sight, been doing everything.
Yeah. It is the Bitcoin thing that doesn't make sense.
No,
they
it
had
doesn't
such a good position, and just nuking it. And I think the only thing that I can think of is slightly because whoever gets to the top starts to become arrogant and starts to think, oh, I don't need to compete anymore. I'll just shut stuff off and build something better later. That's the arrogance of number one. That's what America are doing right now. It's what the British Empire did. It's what every empire has ever done. And you always get beaten by the guy that you don't think is a problem. You just cancel him, move him away, make it illegal. But then guess what? It's still, they're better, and they build up, and bang, your empire gets brought down by the thing that you thought was stupid and you're just trying to ignore. So maybe those are the little things, like complacency and being fat on your own profit is creeping even into China now, because they're not the underdog, are they? They're number one. They're on all measure that you want to measure an economy by, they're number one.
It's still disputed by America. They still think they're number one, but it's quite obvious, isn't it? When we looked at those charts the other week, and we went, oh, the actual value of the currency is a lot more, even though America claims that they're the biggest economy.
It's just a matter of time, isn't it? Effectively, but it's just essentially they will, and it's interesting playing it out and thinking it out right now that they were once upon a time, the Chinese dynasty was at the height, then it dipped. Now they're about to rise again, but already the mistakes are there for everyone to see.
But I think there's a bit of a difference. Like, America's fat. It's a fat slob. It's lazy. That's where it is. Whereas China is powerful, but it's a tyrant. And it's like you don't build many friends being a tyrant. And so it's quite hard to keep that control, that you can squeeze harder and harder, but you aren't going to be able to catch everything.
You can just see this. There's a very clear pattern, isn't there? There's who are like combative, which governments are combative against Bitcoin, and which ones are embracing it. If you look at the UK banning transactions out to Binance, you got the US trying to regulate it, say it's for drug dealers. You got China banning it completely. They're some of the biggest economies in the world, biggest governments in the world. Are clearly there against Bitcoin because they can see the threat. You've got El Salvador and Paraguay welcoming it in with open arms. So
that's because they're fucked.
Exactly. They
know they're fucked.
Yeah, they're not using politics. They're seeing the product for what it is, and they see sound money and a better form of money than they have right now. So they embrace it as a UVP over the money they have. The other ones, they acknowledge the UVP but don't want it because that loses all their control. And like you said, if you lose control of the money, you lose control of the people. And you have, like, there's only probably 5 currencies in the world that are actually worth even having. And they're the 5 governments fighting it the hardest.
Yeah, but so they just refer to it as a Ponzi scheme, money laundering, whatever
boiling
else.
The oceans.
Boiling the oceans, whatever they can, just to distract.
Yeah, just quickly searched because I know we've spoken about it before, but Ray Dalio's book is called The Changing World Order, and it's all about this specific topic of why nations succeed and fail. And it's not out until the 16th of November of this year, but it will obviously cover, as it says here, history's most turbulent economic and political periods to reveal why the times ahead will likely be radically different from those we've experienced in our lifetimes. But he's just simply looking at the trends of what has happened before.
What was the name of the book?
The Changing World Order. So he's openly saying, essentially, it's going from one god to the other of America to China, but it will also cover everything else.
Because it might cover Bitcoin then, mightn't it? Because he's a Bitcoiner now.
Yeah.
So if he floats that in there, that could be the normie Bitcoin standard.
Correct.
Okay, I've pre-ordered that on Audible.
Yeah, I love it.
I think I just
this is a new Ross.
You can tell he's got a few Satoshis now, hasn't he? Fucking, what's a tenner? Fucking gone.
Not only that, this would have been a month-long decision about 6 months ago.
He'd have gone, you guys get it first. Tell me what it's like. Then about Christmas time, he'd have gone, go on then. Is it on offer? I'll get it.
Yeah. Or I saw a 2 out of 5 star in there, despite the 1,000 5 stars.
I love you saying this star now, but who read the Bitcoin standard first? And Gaz wasn't even the one who told me to read that.
You did.
Yeah, but I probably told you 4 years ago to read it, but
probably with some shitty description of what Bitcoin is as well.
It's always my fault. Never the student, always the teacher.
But it's one of those ones. It's any kind of book which talks around the kind of society, economics. I'm very interested in, and also learning about finance and how to improve mine. So it's probably what we've been doing for bordering on 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah,
as a kind of thing, because I don't really read much fiction anymore. I've probably read one fiction book in the past 5 years. It just doesn't interest me. Whereas I tend to read all these kind of books, but I do read some which I just give up on because they're just boring as shit.
Yeah. It's really bad. I can't almost read or watch fiction sometimes now. I have to really allow myself that time, because if I'm not learning something about all this, then I feel like it's a waste. And it's actually quite a bad thing, I think, because I think you should allow yourself just to watch some crap and sod it. I'll watch an Iron Man movie. I'm not going to learn anything, but fine, it's just fun. But I always search this stuff out, always searching it.
Yeah. I watch crappy movies, but then when I go to bed, instead of reading some kind of novel, I'll read about finance, economics, property, Bitcoin. Literally, that's my bedtime book.
Yeah.
We're talking about Bitcoin books. I've got some nice late night listening for you.
Okay.
There's a new podcast that I found, and it's on the website called exitscam.show. So if you search Exit Scam on any podcast, it'll come up, and it's brilliant. There's probably, I think, about 6 or 7 episodes, and it's all about the huge exit scam that happened on a Bitcoin exchange called Quadriga. It happened about 2 or 3 years ago. I don't know. I don't think you guys are probably following the news as closely 2 or 3 years ago.
No. I had a read up on it when you put it as a topic, but I think I'd heard fleetingly about it, but I didn't really pay any attention.
Yeah, because basically it's a great. Number one, I recommend the podcast, even though I'll tell you very briefly what the storyline is. It's still great because it's a bit of investigative journalism. They go and contact the people that are involved, they interview them, and they tell you the story, and they break it down into nice little half-an-hour chunks. It's great. I listened to an episode each evening before I went to bed, and it's really just really well produced. Music's great, commentary's great, and a bit of journalism and adding a bit of some facts and figures.
They're quite short as well. They're
half an
20 to 30 minutes. Well, sorry, the longest is 40 minutes because I was just adding it to my Amazon Music list.
Yeah, it's great.
Nice.
It's great. And yes, and the story about it is great. It's a great, another kind of reminder of why to not trust exchanges, because the guy that set this, it's a great, it's got everything. They could literally make a movie out of this entire thing. It'd be a great little movie. Because the guy that founded it, it's basically became the #1 exchange in Canada. So relatively big, but no Bitcoiners had heard about this thing because it was in Canada. No one cares about Canada. So, and I think if anything, he'd purposefully not marketed it to Bitcoiners.
There goes our Canadian audience.
We only have 2 followers, and I'm pretty sure not one of them's Canadian.
Well, we had that person leave a comment, so it could have been man, they could be Canadian.
Oh, by the way, on the last video, we got 4 spam comments. The first one, we got 1. The spammer followed up with 4 in the next one. But I think YouTube auto-deleted 3 of them. There's only 1 of them left.
Well, Yeah, I always just randomly send it out to everybody that I know, which isn't a lot. So that gets us to 10, but I'm sure they don't even go past the intro and the banter at the beginning, because as we've always said, if you actually listen to the full podcast, there's a lot of interesting and deep stuff over and above the shits and giggles at the beginning that you edit.
Yeah, weirdly, my brother sent me a video today of his kid. He's 3, and he had our podcast on the TV, and he was filming it. But then weirdly, he was trying to like show me that like how he's really getting into the podcast, and he turns to him and he just goes, "I don't like it. Can I have like Paw Patrol on?" And Tom's like, cut, like taking it off. So trying, but it's not. I was like, anyways, like it's not for 3-year-olds. Like I don't want him listening to me speak like this. Really.
No, definitely not. But plus the attention span of a 3-year-old will probably just be the intro at best.
Tom, if you're listening, buck up your ideas. Your child needs to learn about Bitcoin. Stop being a loser.
I'll make sure I clip that out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this exchange, this Canadian exchange, number 1, it gets to number 1, but very clearly this guy had scammed before. He had a history of scamming. He's changed his name a few times, but it's quite easy to uncover. And essentially, the big scandal kind of erupts because he gets married and he goes on honeymoon to India, and he supposedly dies whilst on honeymoon very suddenly. And it turns out his wife gets home. She's now legally the owner of this exchange.
At the age of 30 as well. So it wasn't like he was old.
Yeah, he's a relatively young guy. He does have Crohn's disease. That is definitely true. That's been fact checked. He did have Crohn's disease, but it doesn't seem related. What he died from apparently isn't related to that. It's just, but he has a death certificate. There's doctors that have been interviewed that verified he died. His wife says she was with him in the hospital, identified his dead body, and then escorted the body back to America and then buried it, and says it definitely was him. This is he 100% is dead. Turns out she takes over the exchange. Eventually, 2 weeks later, announces that he has died. Customers rightly then go, "Is everything okay with the exchange then? Is the Bitcoin still there? Is everything all good?" She goes, "Don't worry, everything's fine." A few days later, she actually goes, "Actually, he was the only one with the private keys. We've got no access to all the crypto, all the Bitcoin, all the Ethereum. It's all just, but don't worry, we're on it. We'll get access to it." This is when Bitcoin Twitter heard about it, because I remember this story coming out. So straight away, the analysts that Bitcoin Twitter are, they go straight away, find the Quadriga wallets on various blockchains and start tracking through and go, "Well, hold on, you don't have any Bitcoin anyway. You don't have any Ethereum. You don't have any of this." And it turns out, yes, it does seem like they don't have access to the keys or whatever, which all seems a little bit dubious, because he did have a safe up in his loft, and they end up finding it and it's been opened, and she says he never opened it. It's all a little bit. But essentially what it turns out is he had been gambling away all this Bitcoin and various crypto that had been deposited over years ago. He had been moving it to Binance, weirdly, was a big exchange he liked, and trading the crypto he had on leverage, and had lost it. And on the way, he had taken some profit, and he bought a yacht. He bought a couple of dozen houses. So he had about $50 million worth of personal wealth anyway. But then he'd gambled about 150 million on trading and had lost it all. So when he died, there was no money left anyway. So that very much then makes it look like, is this guy really dead? Or did he just conveniently die because he knew he was about to get found out and
would have got killed?
Yeah. Or would have probably got put in prison. Canada don't like this type of stuff. So it's a great podcast.
Can't wait
about all this. And they dig into it. Oh,
okay.
Yeah, it's decent.
Yeah, fantastic. I like that. Great find.
I've marked them. So picked up a bit of that. So what was it? Up to $250 million owed to 115,000 customers went missing. So it doesn't seem like it's massive amounts of Bitcoin, because it seems like these are probably going to be more casual users. So you put
Well, there's one guy on the podcast who had 400 grand in there.
Oh, why the fuck? Why? I think my first question is, why the fuck would you leave that amount of money on an exchange? Like,
Yeah.
I know. I think unfortunately, what happens with a lot of Bitcoiners, they start. I think he said he started with 50 or something, and it turns into 400. So it's still 50k. It was still too much, but then it turns into kind of stupid money. And you haven't figured it out yet. I think he invested in 2016, then 2017 happens, and boom, he's 5-6x his money, and yeah, he lost it all. It's really tragic as well, because the estate, I think, owes about 250, and what they've done is liquidated his wife's assets, and they've managed to recover about 40 million from that. So at the moment, it's about 5-1. So you're going to get about 20% of your money back. But there's two things problem with that. Number one, it's the lawyers and all the legislators and stuff, they're going to take their cut. So you think it's 20%. I think it'll be more like 10. So if you've invested that 400 grand that guy had, he's probably looking at get 40k back. But also the problem is that 400 grand he had, that was at the time. And Bitcoin was about 5k then.
Yeah.
It's 7x by then. He would now have, I don't know, 3 or 4 million. Instead, he's looking at getting 40 grand back. And that, kids, is why you don't leave your money on exchanges.
So looking at that exchange, I just did a quick division, and it appears to be about $165 per person. So not masses amount of money. Obviously, quite a lot of people may have emptied their wallets in that case and just had, shrapnel sitting on there from whatever.
Yeah, I think most users have like £10 worth of Bitcoin. Most users create an account and just put a token amount in to test it, and then never do anything else. So I'd imagine if you look at Coinbase's like average value, there's the majority, I would say, like, I don't know, 30 or 40% have like hardly any in. Because I think even when you look at most Bitcoin wallets, it's something like 85% of Bitcoin wallets have less than $100 on. So
I'm just checking to see what's on mine. I think mine's maybe freebies from the Bitcoin.
I've only got freebies on there.
Yeah,
I had £2, and then freebies. So
I got £7.58.
Yeah, I think I have about the same from the last two things. I think you have to wait to a tenner till you can send it out. So I'd normally just wait for about that, and then I send it out, and they.
It's just when I buy. So I buy it on Pro, I'm going to end up with a bit, then I'll transfer that once it gets to a bit. So it's just basically when I then push it through Coinbase and then onto my storage.
Yeah.
Do you guys actually store it, or do you just think, I'll just use it as walking money? Or do you store it?
I store it once it hits a certain amount. So because I do my DCAs every week, once that builds up to a reasonable amount, I will just then move it all across. And so I'll pick up a shrapnel from Coinbase, which I've got for free lessons at the same time.
Yeah, the main reason why I store it from Coinbase is because everything coming from there is KYC'd. So what I'll do if I spend any, I will coin join it and then send it to my own personal wallet. And now I know it's not tracked and KYC'd attached to me. If I send any money directly from Coinbase to one of the wallets that I use just to buy random stuff when I'm out, that can be okay. That's all KYC tracked back to me. So I just prefer. I only buy freaking Bitcoin hats and stickers with it anyway. But you never know. I might just want to do something when you're out and about, and I don't want it KYC'd back to me.
You might want to buy heroin and hookers. Yeah, great recommendation on the podcast. Definitely have to listen to that.
Yeah.
So kind of going on to the next one, which I thought was funny because I know we've talked about it on our chat. Stop calling it fiat money.
Cause my feelings.
So my comment on this was, poor boomers.
I love it because the definition of fiat money is money issued by government.
Yeah, it's a formal authorization or proposition, a decree. So it's something from a formal authority is ultimately what it is, which is fiat money. So people getting upset about it, it is what it is.
All up in their feelings.
But the problem is people are starting to learn what fiat money is, and they're learning that governments print it out of thin air. So they're trying to rebrand it. and they're just going, can you please stop calling it fiat money? Because we realize now the cat's out the bag of what fiat money is, and we just print it out of our arseholes, and you guys have to earn it, and we steal loads of it back in taxes, and then we just print more for ourselves. We don't get the kind of the harsh side, you get all the harsh side, and we get all the benefits. So they want to just rebrand it to something soother, something softer, something that can be more easily manipulated. And I just love it. It's almost like this is like one of our victories, that like we if we can bring down just the fact that fiat money is now understood, that's brilliant. And if they try and rebrand it, then fine. But we're getting there. It feels like success. Like they're getting rattled. They don't even like calling their money government money anymore. That's good.
Yeah. Because go on, mate. Come on.
I was just going to say, because they had, in terms of inflation, we had a massive inflation around the wars. And that's when we had the Great Depression off the back of that, because they basically printed money, not really understanding what would happen. So they had to test it. It's like if you give it to a child, and then they had it in the 70s when they went completely off the gold standard. They did it again. But we also were, how would you say, we were almost regional at that time. There's not much communication. The communication is chosen by the governments, chosen by the media. So people weren't able to connect the dots, whereas now we are the World Wide Web. So the funny thing is, when the government says COVID is everywhere's struggling with it, we're like, Florida. And we're like, no, Florida's locked down, or they're all dying. It's like, we have got the internet, we can tell.
Yeah.
They're live streaming on Instagram every day.
Yeah, exactly. And we can also get the records because they're all online. Or they're lying. They're not, because it's official. You were criticizing when their death rate was slightly up when they went off the mask mandate, but now it's below average. You tell me it's made up, even though it's the same figures. But back to Bitcoin, it's the same kind of thing. People have got this information at their fingertip, and they go, why the fuck is my chicken, my peas, my rice, whatever else gone up by 20%? The government's printed over 20% of money. And it is that kind of knowledge which is actually getting around now. Because the thing if Bitcoin was in the 70s, admittedly impossible, it wouldn't get the same kind of traction, because news and interaction was regional rather than being international. Whereas now we are really a joined world. You cannot stop it. It is going viral. And it's just a matter of time. El Salvador didn't happen, but when you actually look into it, it did. All you have to do is Google it, put it on DuckDuckGo, whatever, and it's the fact that they can't stop it now. And I don't understand where they're going to go with it.
Absolutely, and it's a dissemination of information which is a lot quicker and easier with everybody having it at their fingertips with this as well. That's the difference. And once you start, to your point, Gaz, as well, you just can't help but stop digging and unraveling. So everyone will find out, okay, so fiat money. And then they'll think, okay, so what else is there? And then what else? And what else? And things are going more and more viral, even the things that aren't necessarily as fun. Like, we find it fascinating, but to the average layperson, it's maybe not so fascinating. But to your point, Ross, when everything is going up in price and it's starting to really hurt them, that's when their head starts to turn and think, well, actually, I want to find out a little bit more about this, because you're right, my money's not going as far as it used to. And why does the council continue to put up the bill every year 2 to 3%, and I'm still getting the same service? Why isn't that £10 that I used to have go for as far as it used to do last year?
I think the council would be ignored because you can put that down to budgeting problems. The government can't budget for shit. We all know that. But then you go, oh God, my nail polish, my beauty regime is costing 20% more. And my new car lease, they want 20% more for the same model, and I want to go up a model. It's going to cost me so much more. And that wallpaper's costing 20% more. Everything's 20% more. And it's not just 3 or 5%, which can be ignored. 3 to 5%, you kind of go, it's marginal. It doesn't really matter, apart from it just happens every year. And then, but at the moment, 20%, everything has gone up by a fifth. And I think that's just, you cannot get away from it.
Right.
And maybe that's a realization which is going to start coming in. and it'd be great. It would be
Look, I think
glorious.
historically, like in my lifetime, most of the blame for not being able to afford things was aimed at companies and the minimum wage and it just wages in general. And because it was almost like in my head before I had all this clicked, is that yeah, things go up in value. It's the company's responsibility to pay me more than inflation. I remember being a bit angry at realizing inflation was 2%, and I think my pay rise one year was 1%. So I technically took a pay cut that year. I didn't get it. I was angry at the company. I had it all mixed up. I shouldn't have been angry at my company. My company are the victim of this. The actual person to blame here is who is setting inflation. It's the government. It's the fiat money. If that wasn't inflating as fast as it was, the wages that I get today would be fine because I was okay today. And if I get a bit of a pay rise, it's actually a pay rise. I can actually afford more stuff because money hasn't inflated ahead of me. But the fact is, I need a pay rise just to stay still.
Correct.
And the second that I don't, or I don't get one that's big enough, and you just can't, it's not sustainable. You can't get a pay rise every single year. It's not sustainable, at least for everyone. If you're a high flyer and you just fire through the ranks, yeah, great, you can stay ahead of it and you're all good. The majority of people get pay rises that are in line with inflation every year or below. And I think that's the thing that's clicked, is that people have started to go, you know what, like I'm on furlough or whatever, and they've had time to think about it. And this fiat money thing and inflation, we've really started hammering it home. And obviously this year we've shared all those charts of the Fed printing rate, and it's just gone parabolic over the last 2 years. And we've shared that enough that I think enough people have gone, is this inflation thing okay? Like what's fiat money? Like this looks bad, right? This is a chart that when it starts going straight up like this, normally that looks like unsustainable if you keep doing that. And that's the printing of your money. So yeah, I think it's great. And I think the fact that they don't like fiat money now and they're going to try and rebrand it, we've got them where they're in the corner and they're ducking. But like
the thing is as well though, is again that next step afterwards, because you're spot on, guys, in terms of being angry at the company until you kind of connect all the dots. Is the next thing is, okay, so it's not the company, it's the government. What can I do to get myself out of this? Because you're right, let's be honest, not everybody's a high flyer that's in a position to be able to change things. So, and you know, they still have to buy their goods, their services, and so on. So it's then having the knowledge and the capability to think, okay, how can I either contract my lifestyle so then I can then kind of make money work for me? How can I save a little bit of money, which isn't necessarily a good idea, but you know, it's a start, because then you're starting to think, right, I can't continue along this path. Or how can I, you know, either earn a passive income or do something different to stay ahead of the curve. So I think once they start to click that it's the government, then obviously you start going down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, I think at the moment what I've seen, at least from the younger generation, is once it clicks for them, is unfortunately they've jumped into Robinhood and onto Reddit and Wall Street Bets, and they've started buying fucking Dogecoin, GMC, AMC, and they've started YOLOing into meme stocks and shit coins. But to a certain extent,
all they're doing is the equivalent of accumulators. You know, literally they're putting their, you know, as we probably all did, like random games, like 10, 20 games on a £1 accumulator, but they're throwing £100 on Dogecoin. It's exactly the same. It's gambling. There's no real value in that coin. And the same with the meme stocks as well. It is pure speculation.
But do you think that they get it though? As in, do you think that they get why they're doing it?
No, they blame the boomers for all the house rises and so on, not realizing it's just inflation and the boomers were in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, so I think some of them do. I think some of them do get it.
I think so.
I think they do realize that investing is the way out, and earning a living is not going to get you there, especially as a Zoomer, because house prices are so ridiculous, college fees are so crazy. They've realized that if you rent yourself out by the hour in a job, then you're never going to buy a house if you're 18 right now, living in America with a 300k student debt and an average house price of like $1 million. It's just stupid.
What
so you
are the
have to
fees in
invest. You have to make your money work for it.
What are the fees in America for university? It's not that. It's not hundreds, is it?
Yeah, for like a top university in New York or a proper city, like our equivalent of like a Manchester or a London or Oxford or something like that, it's $100,000 a year.
Yeah.
Really, $100,000 a year?
Yeah.
So ours is what ours is like $50,000 a year. $50,000 total debt, which I think is ludicrous as it is.
It's going up. It's like 20 or 30 in some places now per year.
100%. Yeah.
It's if you look at all the charts on inflation, there's certain things that have gone up the fastest, and education is the one that's going parabolic. If you look,
it's really interesting. We cover this actually because just yesterday I went to it wasn't a meeting. It was like as in the traditional meeting. It's part of this course that I do, which is Vistage. Maybe familiar with it, where it was originally created in the late 50s, where CEOs would come together to chat about the problems and challenges that they were facing within their business, and then they would openly share it, because by sharing the problem they would potentially have in their own business, they would understand how to overcome it, and then obviously offer solutions together. Anyway, it carried on, and there's also a different version of this called the Young Presidents Club as well. And then there's different tiers. But there's a couple of people on my course, and I not challenged them, but I questioned them in terms of their motives. And this is all around like education. So one guy has a son, and the guy has his own wine business. So they import and export wine. It's really successful, etc. But he sent his son to university to go and study business management. Another, he's an accountant, and he's the MD of this accountancy firm, and they do commercial property. You and I were talking about in Ross. And then the third guy, he is a financial wealth planner, and he said his son is learning from him. He's only 15, and they're looking at doing their own business. And I think right now, I questioned, like, why are you sending him to university? You're in a position where he can learn so much more directly from you without the need to go there and the debt potentially that comes from it. And he said, you know what, I've never thought about it like that. And the only reason he said that he wanted to send him to there was because of the enjoyment that he got from university. I was like, okay, that's cool. But where I'm going with all of this is essentially like university and the debt from all of this it's not needed. And you've got this balance between us and the old school, because I had a great time at university and I would encourage my kids to go because I made some great friendships from it. But at the same time, I know the other school of thought is you don't need that. Just go out and crack on by yourself, and you can learn the experience and go further. So maybe we'll get to a point where after these Zoomers, they might just cut university up, because again, they can learn everything on YouTube or on Google.
And give your kids 30 grand and say, have a 3-year traveling holiday. Go have the time of your life.
You want to make some friends? Here's 10, 20 grand. Go fuck off to Peru or something, and meet some people. Because I get where you're going with this, Darnell. It's meant to be a door entry so much into a business.
It's also the unwiring as well. Like, because we are pre-wired to go to higher education, but we know that higher education doesn't necessarily you don't necessarily need it.
I won't be advising my kids to go to uni unless they're looking at certain things.
Yeah.
And like my wife has come around to this. I said, do they really need to go to university to have a computers or business degree? Because the line of work, which I've done, for donkey's years, was always, you need a degree, you need a degree, you need a computers or business degree, information systems, something like that, something fairly logical. And when I started managing a team, I was like, you don't need a degree. It's blatantly obvious you do not need a degree. And I started interviewing people without a degree, and I was the first person in that team to start doing that, because it really didn't bother me. I was like, either experience or degree to get your foot in, and we'll work on that. It's basically what is a person's logical and problem solving. Like, that is what I'm looking at. I'm not looking at how well you can remember a textbook.
Yeah, the only reason we all had to get degrees is because the people hiring us demanded us that we had to have them.
Correct.
Whereas now we are the hiring managers.
Correct.
And none of us think a degree is worth anything because we know what it was worth. Like, it was just a little bit of studying. We had to memorize some shit to pass an exam. And then 80% of the time we're just partying and having fun. So do I need to know someone can have party and have fun to do this job?
I'd just like to go back on one point there. We're the hiring manager. You're not. You're unemployed.
I am a bum. I used to be a hiring manager.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know what your kind of policy was on unemployment. But mine was
no requirement. Like, HR tried to say you have to you've missed out a bit on this on your job description that says required degree. I went, no, I didn't. I deleted it on purpose. I don't require a degree for any of my roles.
I think mine said degree or relevant experience, which basically
I deleted the line. I was like, it's irrelevant. Yeah. Of course, I need that. It's like, I know I don't say things. It's like, oh, you need to have like a head. Yeah, I know you need a head. Like,
you know, I know various people in that kind of like area being employed without a degree, and like being no problem whatsoever.
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense.
In my opinion, the people that I hired without a degree that came into the team that I had before, they were the best because they were hungrier. This is the whole underdog story, where so many of these people had worked dead end jobs because they had not done the educational route, which I think they probably regretted because they were similar ages to us, probably a little bit younger, but they had regretted it because it had closed some doors. So there was very few jobs that actually then said, don't require a degree. Once they saw the kind of jobs we were advertising that didn't require a degree, they actually were getting in the door and getting interviews. They were the most prepared people I have ever sat down with. They were young people. When I was literally, I think I had a day of like 6 22-year-olds kind of coming in and all kind of interviewing. There's like 4 with a degree, 2 without. The 2 without, their preparation was unrivaled. They had documents, they had presentations. The students that had just graduated walked in, and you could tell their presentations had been done in 15 minutes the night before. And it was just, you could just see it. It's like, well, technically on paper, these 2 shouldn't have even been let in. They were the 2 that got shortlisted, and then one of them got hired, and I think is still in the company now. And it's, yeah. So having a degree, if anything, like when you're young, I actually think like 22 to 25-year-old people with degrees, I would rather hire someone without one. After 25, I don't care, because 22 to 25-year-olds, in my opinion, and I'm including myself in this, immature, hard to teach. You got to actually teach just work ethic, because university doesn't teach you that. Whereas 3 years in a dead end job, stacking shelves or doing retail, waiting tables, that teaches you work ethic, and that's the one thing you want as a kid. You just want work ethic, number 1, and then you need to figure out your career, number 2.
Yeah, I think we discussed this previously. I think a bit of disappointment helps people move on. Well, helps people evolve more to the point and be hungry, that kind of desire. Because I've seen people who've done very well, got the top grades, A's, A stars, and then got a first, and done fuck all in business because they've had this false impression that they've already made it, whereas they don't realise they've only just come to the start.
Yeah, and they're lazy, yeah. And that's the thing. You like graduates come and they want all the top jobs straight away. It's like, oh, what's my responsibilities? What project am I leading? Like, what big strategy decisions am I making? I'm like, mate, you're making the tea.
Milk, no sugar. Chocolate teapot.
Milk, no sugar, stirred anti-clockwise, and it better be good. And this is your job for 2 weeks. Like, and this is like, you earn your stripes.
Yeah. We've gone on a complete and utter tangent, haven't we? I was looking at my list to see what on earth we were talking about, and it's fiat money, wasn't it? We got a complete tangent. But yeah, I think it's a bit of a landmark again, isn't it? It's the fact that they're going, please don't call it fiat money. So
what's next?
I've got Boomers and JPMorgan calling for $23,000 Bitcoin. So I think this is one which I probably re-engaged with the team when I dropped the clip in. From my father-in-law who talked to me about this article. I saw it at JPMorgan. I think it's when he was either around here or I was around at theirs having a barbecue. I said to him initially, I said, it's just someone whose interest is money, and he doesn't want his money destroyed. So I don't understand why his opinion is relevant. And it comes down to his money is fiat. His company's made billions off ripping people off with fiat. So why would he want to change currency to something which excludes him and takes away his millionaire lifestyle? So I kind of think whatever he says, it's not impartial. It's completely slanted to his interest. And of course he doesn't want it to succeed. But saying that it's going to halve, how does he know? How on earth does he know that stat?
Yeah. And it's funny, the fact, I think he said a third, didn't he? Because it's like, but either way, it's like still saying 23K. You do realize we were at 5K last year. So you're still saying, oh, it's only going to be up 5x in the 12 months. Is that like, if I'm going to put out a scare story and put it front page and try and like scare a load of people out of their Bitcoin positions, I'm not saying 23, I'm saying 3. I'm saying 1K. Like it's crazy that the FUD is this week, that 23K Bitcoin is the best they can do. That's the fear story. What the hell are you talking about?
But I suppose this is aimed at people who've gotten in over last year, because I think there's been a particular interest over last year because you've had the people who've realised about how bad inflation is, like myself and Darnell. So we've bought in at much higher amounts than yourself. So 23K is below my average. So I'd be like, oh shit. But then I'm also kind of going, well, you know what? We're going to be volatile. We're going to be volatile until it has higher stranglehold, till we get South America, till we get the sacred land of Pakistan, all those kind of landmarks which we're going to hit, and I'm confident we're going to hit. So I'm not selling.
Yeah, I'm not selling. I have a lower average buy of Bitcoin right now. I've got 16 and a half, so I'm happy about that. But I've just pulled up a quote that I remembered Jamie Dimon said, and he said, obviously, I don't care about Bitcoin. I have no interest on it. On the other hand, clients are interested. I don't tell clients what to do. So as he's seen with other, well, as you've seen with hedge funds specifically, and customers are saying, what about this Bitcoin? I can make more on Bitcoin than I can on fiat money. I want in. So whilst he might not agree with it, he's going to have to do something. And so JPMorgan will do something. Hopefully it won't be their classic, JPMorgan coin or something ridiculous like that. And
they already have a crypto division.
Yeah, they do, yeah.
So it's ironic, the fact that he's trying to FUD it, but it's like you have a whole team of people working on managing your customer. And this is one of the stories that was ironic. I think he opened up a crypto division, but only for accredited investors. So you had to be worth more than $2 million to even be part of it. So it's so ironic that you open up like the new division, like the future of finance, which is Bitcoin, but you manage to exclude everybody that needs it. Because if you're already worth more than 2 million, then you're good. Like, you just go away. Like, you're fine. You should get into Bitcoin, but you don't really need it. The people that are lower down, where they're the ones that need it, and JPMorgan obviously see money in it. People are asking all the time, I want to have exposure to Bitcoin in my portfolio. So they finally open it up, but only for the rich, only for the old boys club. It's so ironic. It's so banking. It's just fuck off, Jamie.
Yeah, it's no change, is it? And as well, I think it's the case of the fact that the plebs were able to get in way before as well, then obviously the whales, or could be potential whales. So this is their kind of revenge.
Yeah, I was just having a look at my averages. We're around about the mark still where I am averaging, so
Yeah, but don't you find it like I only have a couple of things sent to me from relatives, and it's always a negative story.
Yeah.
It's always like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm just giving you the heads up. Apparently, this really well-known banker is telling me Bitcoin's going to drop, so I'm just letting you know. I'm like, you don't tell me when Bitcoin's going to go up. You only tell me when it's going to go down.
Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, they do only, everything negative, they'll be sure to tell you and send it to you.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's a lack of understanding because they just see it as a gamble, almost like a stock, don't they? Oh, yeah, the stock's going to go down. Everyone says it's going to go down. This guy from JPMorgan, he knows about money. It must be going down. But then it is, well, what the fuck does he know? And how can he actually have an impartial opinion on what's going to happen? And he's 100% against Bitcoin. So,
yeah. Just something that I'd like to throw in there. I know it's not on the whole agenda.
It's not on the agenda. We're throwing it out.
Yeah, I'm throwing it out there. And that's it makes a very interesting game. 1-1, by the way.
Yeah, just equalised, didn't they? Spain.
Yeah. I started watching The Walking Dead, and so I don't know if you guys have watched it.
I watched
a bit of it and got bored.
Yeah, so it was interesting, the whole, like, obviously what's gone on with the pandemic. So I'm just thinking of it in relation to the pandemic.
Survival, like, what would I do?
What would I do? How, what would happen with regards to this? And I just thought, I think I'm having a completely different stance on it, watching it now, as opposed to if I'd have watched it prior as well. So I just thought I'd share that. I'll keep you updated. I'm watching an episode a night.
You need to get some prison metal, wouldn't you? Whether it's called the crypto storage.
Yeah.
If you're going to be on the run, where else are you going to put it?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, that show got ruined for me when someone like broke it down that each episode is the same formula, where they have it always ends on a cliffhanger. The next one will start not relate to the cliffhanger at all. They'll just go into like boring, like random people like be arguing. Someone will just go running out into a load of zombies and like.
Has it finished yet?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's 10 seasons.
Because I gave up. I watched it, got bored. When everyone was going about it at work, so I watched some more, got bored, and went, I'm not watching it again because it's just exactly the same thing, rinse and repeat, and somehow you've fallen for it for 7 seasons.
Yeah.
My version of it was it's basically a soap opera that has 10 minutes of zombies in at the end each time. Because the conversations they're having are like, they're just frustrating. It's just like silly, petty bullshit.
Yeah.
I couldn't be asked of it. Yeah, there's only so much of it I can watch.
I do like series, but I like something which is a bit better written. That like they found a little formula to keep everyone. Oh, it's got a bit of gore, it's got a bit of conversations, it's got zombies. And everyone's like, I'm in, and it's like we're going to do the same thing for 20 episodes a season, and we're going to do 20 seasons. And everyone's like, oh, great.
Well, this is why I'm watching it so late. Essentially, I had no time for it before. But probably I'll watch it.
Watch Ozark. Watch about money laundering. That's much more fun.
Yeah, I've watched Ozark. I'm looking forward to season 4.
You're scraping the barrel once you go into Walking Dead. It's pretty old.
Yeah. Everything else has been watched. Dirty Money on Netflix and everything else. So watch Cryptopia, I think it was, or Cryptomania on Prime. Yeah, you've seen it all.
Weirdly, during lockdown, I rewatched Breaking Bad. That was amazing. It's like I think it's like 7 or 8 years since that first came out. I watched it once, amazing, and then I watched it again, just as good. I'd forgotten much. I'd forgotten so much of the story. You forget, and genuinely, I was on tenterhooks. I don't know what happens next because it's like this little dramas that happen within the big ones, and you remember the big ones.
Yeah,
and also I was recovering from when I did my ACL, and I was high on. I was high on tramadol when I watched Breaking Bad the first time around, so I think that affected my memory. So watching it the second time actually helped watching it sober.
So here we go. So not Breaking Bad, Walking Dead. It's about to release its 11th series. And the final season will premiere on August the 22nd, 2021. 24 episodes over a 2-year broadcast period.
Wow.
24 episodes. And they're like,
so what I might do is I might watch the last episode, and I reckon I'll be able to fill in the fillers in the middle, just like I did with Lost. I didn't watch it for about 4 seasons. I said to Gaz, who's that? Oh, he's not really relevant. Who's that? Not relevant. I was like, okay, I get it. And it literally, I didn't watch 4 seasons of Lost. I watched the last couple of episodes.
I was so disappointed with Lost because I thought it was going to be so good, and the episode at the end just tragic.
Well, that's why you should just not watch most of it and watch the last couple of episodes.
Yeah, I'm one of those. If I start something, I like to finish it.
I don't, because it's a waste of your time. Like, if you know it's not any good, give it up, wait till it ends, see what reviews are like, and maybe watch the last episode or something if it's really that relevant. But when it's filler like Lost or Walking Dead, you could easily do that.
Yeah.
There's nothing intelligent about those series.
Yeah, I realized once I think I got into Walking Dead when it was like season 7 or 8, and I looked and it's like 20 episodes a season. So it was a real big commitment. Once I started watching it, I was like, this needs to be really good if I'm going to stick to this, because this is one hell of a commitment. And after like, I think 2 or 3 episodes, I'm like, nope, I'm out. I'm tapping. Whereas the same thing happened to me with Game of Thrones. I think I was about 3 seasons in before I started watching that. And I went, this needs to be really good if I'm going to watch like 12 hours worth of TV like 3 times. And then I watched 3 or 4 of them. I went, this is awesome. And I stuck with it. And then they ruined it at the end.
I was going to say, they definitely ruined that.
They got lazy because the screenwriters wanted to do Star Wars or some other show. They got some other big one. And they didn't give a shit about Game of Thrones and just basically wrote it down on a notepad and went, do this.
And they wrote past the book, didn't they?
Yeah, the main guy that was the genius behind it hasn't written the final season, so they don't know how it finishes. They guessed, got it wrong.
It's one of those. Well, they know because they got the outline. He's always got the outline, but obviously hasn't done the detail.
He gave them 3 things, so there's 3 parts of the ending that is true. So I think who becomes king and 2 other things are true, but how they get there, he doesn't even know. He role plays this in his head. He's fucking crazy as a writer. He literally says, like, he starts with there's 5 people in a room. How would their conversation go? And he just starts writing. And he doesn't even know what's happening. And then he just role plays it. And then he throws away like 80% of the chat. He throws it away, leaves 20% in, and that's the book. He's crazy. He knows where he's going, but he doesn't know how he gets there.
So say if he finishes writing it and he finishes the books off, and in 10 years' time, so he finishes the books off in the next couple of years, and in 10 years' time they go, we're going to redo Game of Thrones based upon the books. Would you watch it?
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be in.
Because I'm not satisfied at all with what they've done.
Yeah, I would not only watch that, I would probably rewatch season like 1 to 5 or something, catch myself back up, and then forget that season 6 or 7 or whatever, whichever 2 they fucked up, delete them from my memory, catch up to his version, and then carry on with his version that is now just out.
I think 6 was poor, 7 was good, 8 was crap.
You mean when basically Daenerys turned into Darth Vader? Yeah. They pretty much had the Imperial March, like literally they just followed Star Wars.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've gone on a complete and utter tangent again. So difficulty adjustment with 27%, the largest which we've ever had, blocks back to 10 minutes. Some were taken as long as 2 hours before.
Yeah. So is that? I'm sure it was. Is that today or tomorrow? Kick it Thursday.
I think it's already happened. It's already happened a couple of days ago.
Yeah. The difficulty adjustments happened. So I'll just try and give it a quick stab of. Essentially, we know that the blockchain pumps out new Bitcoin every 10 minutes, but based on the miners in China and no longer doing it, there is essentially more Bitcoin for free for those miners that are still in the game. And the difficulty for the mathematical equation is slightly, well, not slightly, 27% easier to get. 2 hours is a long time.
I know, yeah.
For those A6 computers.
that's the thing. Like 10 minutes is an average, but when 40% of the mining disappears,
Yeah.
that now straight away means, well, now the average time is going to be at least 20 minutes. And at times there was even more the network had gone. Like sometimes it was like 60%. So yeah, the difficulty to mine a block was way too hard. And so yeah, it was some blocks were taking 2 hours to mine, and that is crazy high. So that's why we need the difficulty adjustment, and we've come down 27%. So now we're back roughly to 10 minutes because some other miners have come online. Because I think when we first had the shock, that was when it was taking 2 hours. It was like 60% of mine disappeared, and slowly but surely it's all started to come back online. But now we've been got back in line. It's all good. And I would imagine over the next 2 weeks, blocks will start getting done too quick. They'll start being like 9 or 8 or 7 minutes because all these miners are going to start coming back online. The difficulty will be too easy. And so in the next 2 weeks, we will probably go up like 10 or 20% worth of difficulty to get it back to 10 minutes. And this is the problem when we have big disruption like this, where the whole China gets shut down and then starts popping up at other places.
My question around this is in regards to energy. So if we've got less miners, so because of China, does this mean we're not using as much electricity and we're not boiling the oceans as much?
Yeah. Well, yeah,
we never did in the first place.
It's been solved.
What it does mean is that the ROI for those miners still in the game is even better.
Yeah, because China had a monopoly. They had all the cheap energy.
Yeah.
They had the majority of the mining hash power. And yeah, when the big player goes away with all that cheap energy, now suddenly the people that were paying more for energy, they're now profitable. And yeah. It's
tempted to get a mining rig?
No, you still need a couple of million quid to really make it worthwhile. But no.
Yeah. I don't know if there's anything much more to say about that.
Back of your flat, have you?
What's that?
You've not got a volcano in the back of the flat.
I'm waiting for him to move to El Salvador.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a good story actually. Someone went there this week, and they were taking pictures, and in one of the pictures they left the QR code of a guy selling Bitcoin, selling ice cream for Bitcoin, and he had on it like 10,000 satoshis for an ice cream, and so just a load of Bitcoiners like scanned the code. I scanned it and sent him 10,000 satoshis just for lols, and so this guy is now sat in El Salvador. His phone's probably just going off, and he's like, "What the hell?" And we're tweeting him like being like, "When's the ice cream being delivered? I've just ordered one. Can I one at whip, please?" And yeah, it's just a nice thing.
What's that in sterling? Just out of interest.
Like £3, I think it was.
So I've never paid for anything with Bitcoin. Like literally, all I've done is buy. I've never sold, never bought, never done anything. So like, can you put like a message on it or anything?
Yeah, you can. It depends what app he's got, but I put a message on it. But yeah, you're not guaranteed to get it depending on what app you've got at the other end. But yeah, you can. Yeah, it's quite good. You can send. I think how long is it? I think it's about a tweet. So it's about 140 characters. I think you can attach to a lightning message and just send it off. Yeah.
Nice. Kind of like the modern day pager.
Yeah, I feel like I need to get an app and actually have a try on that. Just like negligible amounts just to do it.
Blue Wallet is a really good one. Blue Wallet. Okay. Great lightning wallet. It's the one I use.
Blue Wallet. Okay, brilliant. I'll get on that and have a test. I'll probably be sending one of you negligible amounts, but
yeah, just send like 10 quid to that account, and then just like send like me like 3 pence, and I'll send you 3 pence back in satoshis. It's amazing. Send me like 10 satoshis, and I'll send you 10 back. And where is the cost? There's no cost.
It's Blue Wallet, Bitcoin Wallet.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll install.
We could use our free money between us from Coinbase.
I think it'll be good to actually try, because if we're actually going to use this as currency at some point, we've got to learn how to do it.
Yeah.
So I didn't even want to do this last topic, which you guys sent through. It kind of
suggested it. I'm been the one that's outvoted here. You wanted a shitcoin on every episode. Darnell fucking mentioned one and said we should discuss it. I was like, I don't want to discuss this. I don't want to discuss this. But I thought I was outvoted 2-1. So I put it on out of like
I wanted
Democracy.
something like Litecoin, not some new shit I've never heard of. Like I've read two things. That one, it's a new shitcoin, and two, it's been around since 2013. So I don't actually know what the truth is. This maybe like there's a website called Worldcoin, whatever.
I think that's a different one. Yeah.
It says it's been 2013. Says it's been along the 9th longest. And it says it once reached $1 in late 2013. I was like, well, it's evidently not anymore.
No.
Whereas this new one seems to be about 2 cents or something a coin. And
what do you want to discuss now on this? What's your justification for bringing this to the table?
Well, first of all, the justification is non-justification. But ultimately, it's just you could see the rise and fall of the shitcoin in real time, essentially. So, we talked about it in our private group, but essentially it doesn't pass the money test from the outset. So if people really truly understand money, and going back to our first point of fiat money, and the fact that one, we see a central creator, therefore it's not decentralized. It can easily be inflated. There's no scarcity. There's no belief in this as to use it as a currency. And Reid Hoffman, who was a LinkedIn co-founder, who's worth around about 2 trillion, if I think their VC rounding was around about 6 million or something ridiculous. He could have just put that in as chump change. So why the hell is he even why are they still going for funding when he could afford all of this and more? It just stinks anyway. But the whole point of it, of why I've brought it to the table, is again just to highlight: don't buy into shit coins, and Worldcoin will be no different than any other shit coin that's out there.
Yeah, and so often what they do.
Fucked up.
What's that?
It sounds really fucked up. Worldcoin, like it's a stupid fucking concept. It sounds like something like a fucking government would do.
What the concept? They scan your retina.
Yeah,
that's your unique ID, and somehow that's tied to your account, and then you can get your UBI, which is basically socialism, paid to you via that.
Yeah,
I'm like, this is amazing. This is the ultimate. Like, all my triggers have been fucking triggered right now. Like, it's a shit coin. You want to use my private data to generate my shit coin. Then you want to pay me fiat money for doing nothing to stay home through the shit coin. Like, this is fiat money with none of the guarantees, all of the risk, lack of privacy, and still it's socialism. Like, what the fucking hell is this? This is Satoshi would be rolling in his grave if he read this.
Well, like reading about this, so there's 265 coins only, was not anymore minted, so it's a set amount. But I went, well, if it's a UBI, why aren't we having 1 coin per person? So why aren't there 7.6 billion coins?
Yeah, and mine 1 coin for every birth or something. That would be
exactly. So it kind of, they've lost their concept. And then scanning retinas, I'm like, well, surely that's literally something which the Chinese government would do. Have this free coin and we'll scan your retina. We won't do anything with it.
Yeah. I love how they said, don't worry, we would delete all the pictures of eyes. It's like, fuck, I'm meant to believe a shitcoiner. Fuck off.
Yeah. I remember the whole UBI stuff. Like, I remember hearing about this and I've always been like, and then you actually put it into context. So you go, everyone in the UK can have £1,000 a month. Okay.
10,000.
But what it means is that £1,000, then, well, that's your base rate for everyone. So literally everything is £1,001, isn't it? Because everyone automatically has that. Like, we earn X amounts per month. We now got X amount plus 1,000. So you want to buy that sofa, it's no longer £500. It's 1,500 because you just deflated the value of money. And no one seems to understand that. Like, I cannot get my head around how people cannot see the basic flaw of a UBI. But if you have more of something, it becomes less valuable. Is your gold versus silver? Gold was worth more because it's less prevalent in the earth core, whereas silver is very prevalent, so it's worth a lot less. And it's, if you get more of something, it is worth less. The same with fiat, and that's why the big problem is about inflation.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's about 4 episodes ago, though, you were saying how good the minimum wage was.
You can't mess with the guy that edits the shows. You know, he not only lives it, he relives it.
Yeah, I'm just throwing it out there. I think you've grown since that episode. You've grown.
We did talk about it. I think it is a good concept to so people aren't exploited, but then it's like you can't just keep on raising it. But the problem which we've got is you've got inflation versus minimum wage. You want people to be able to live, so they're not living in their own piss. Versus the fact that the government keeps on inflating it. So literally this target of being able to afford meals for your family and have a roof over their head keeps on getting raised up and up and up. And that's why the minimum wage, whereas we actually had hard money, you could say this is acceptable and that's what it's going to be like forever because money is not going to change.
The whole illusion is that we think government fixed this stuff. So we think the minimum wage helps. We think UBI helps. It's all a load of nonsense. The free market fixes this. Like if you've got sound money, you don't need a minimum wage, right? So if I set up a company and it's just a hot dog store and I'm paying my employees £1 an hour or 1,000 Satoshis an hour, whatever it might be, but then the next 3 stands next to me are paying them much better, my employees will leave. So what I then have to do is I have to go, oh shit, I've got no employees. I have to raise my wages. The market figures it out. So, and eventually, so all the wages for how much someone should get paid to do a job, the market figures it out. That's why once you get out of minimum wage land, every other job, the market decides what people get paid. No government agency come in and go, no, Darnell, you're a sales guy. You should get paid this. There's none of that bollocks. Like you decide as an individual.
Because we are artificially inflated on numerous different things. So we've got inflation, we've got minimum wage, and we've got benefits. So it is creating a false sense of security around what the bottom looks like. Whereas
we're programmed to believe that government help on this.
Yeah,
we're programmed over and over and over, telling us how good the minimum wage is, how good the living wage is. It saves lives. It saves people from poverty. It doesn't. Government put those people into poverty in the first place by inflating their money and keeping it from themselves. And then
they keep on doing it as well. So they're like, oh, it's terrible, all these companies paying minimum wage in London. It's just like, yeah, but it's minimum wage, which you said was livable at the time. And because you've inflated money so much, you made it impossible for them to live.
Yeah, and we're voting these people in as well, which is even worse, to then dictate to you how you're going to live.
But it's just puppet A or puppet B. Like, it doesn't matter who you vote for.
True.
It's the same outcome.
Is Keir Starmer shown?
Yeah, and weirdly, I think it's come up a few times on this where we slated Trump, where he printed loads of money. It's like, I don't think he wanted to. It's just that he's a puppet. He didn't have any control over what the Fed did. So even though a very controversial guy got voted in and disrupted the entire system, he still couldn't even change the fact that they could print as much money as they felt like. So,
well, he also probably knew it was a pile of bullshit as well.
Yeah, he probably, the only thing he was probably angry about is that he didn't get enough of a cut. But
yeah, although from his perspective, because he owns a lot of assets, it probably benefited him as well.
Oh yeah,
in terms of the inflation,
but a little bit false as well, though, because it's benefited him, but because everything else is costing more. So it's a little bit of a false economy. I think Gaz mentioned it on last week's about there's no such thing as a trillionaire or a billionaire at one point in the 70s, whereas we now have numerous billionaires. How long before we start getting all the trillionaires in?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, inflation does help the super rich because they hold the assets. The majority of inflation goes into stocks, shares, and property. So if you hold a lot of that, or you run some of the biggest businesses, the majority of the money flows into you. So even though it's devalued, you have more of it than inflation. So the super rich get rich, and it's always the poorest are the ones that get screwed because they're the ones that didn't get the 8% pay rise. They're still on minimum wage, and those minimum wages don't go up by 8% a year. So it's always, and then I hate the fact they have the audacity to say that they're helping and that they think they're fixing it, and they make the people like Jeff Bezos and all those guys, they make them the enemy, saying they're not paying their employees enough. It's like, yes, they are. They're doing the best they can. They're running a huge business. You're inflating the money and raising the cost of living so fast that they can't keep up paying their staff. And we as customers would start rebelling if Amazon start putting their prices up. And it's like the companies get all the blame. It's the same. Don't know how we all went that kind of full circle here, but we were talking about companies back at the beginning. It's back to, as consumers, we blame companies as well when they put their prices up. And in reality, we shouldn't be angry at the company, because usually they're not doing it because they want to. They're doing it because their costs have gone up. They have to pay their wages, more wages, all because of inflation. And it all just comes full circle. Everyone that's earning the wages now have to pay more for the goods. When you really track it all through, who's making the money? It's the billionaires and the governments at the top. Right? Surprise, surprise.
The divide between the poor and the rich is getting greater and greater. Do you think that we'll ever see a point where, rather than the two parties moving apart, we'll actually see them moving back closer together? So having this, obviously, this minimum wage in line, and maybe even some support from the government in some central bank digital currency of some form to prop them up? Or do you think that, well, the middle class and the upper class, or those that are the super rich, just continue to get richer and richer and go far and far beyond?
On a fiat standard, then yes, it's going to keep getting worse and worse. We have to move to a Bitcoin standard. That doesn't solve income equality, first off, because there's still going to be huge whales. But what it does is it allows the market now.
You can see him in the podcast.
But once we get to a Bitcoin standard, now suddenly the whales that exist over time, that money will be eroded. Like they will pass it down to their children and then their grandkids. So that money gets divided up. They will spend it in the market, right? And they can't hold a monopoly on their wealth. You can't be a Bitcoin whale for 500 years. You can't guarantee it, because you need to live. The problem is that in the fiat world, if you want to be a whale for 500 years and pass that down generation to generation, you can 100% guarantee it, provided you maintain strong relationships to the money printer. You can just get a free ride all the way down. They will just keep firing out the free money your way. In Bitcoin, there's none of that. There's no money printer. That if you want to maintain wealth for generation after generation after generation and maintain that kind of billionaire status, and your kids still want to be billionaires, they're going to have to build shit. They're going to have to do stuff. They're going to have to make relationships, genuine ones, not corrupt ones. If they scam, then that might be a quick win, but then they're found out. You can't scam twice. So your reputation and your name is now sullied. So literally, it's a meme, but if you fix money, you fix the world. And if we get to a Bitcoin standard, it could take well beyond our lifetimes, probably 200 or 300 years down the track. But I genuinely do think that the income inequality to a certain extent will be fixed. But we still live in a capitalist society. So I would still like to see, if someone like a Jeff Bezos creates an Amazon type company, he should own more wealth than 1 million people, because he made way more difference in the world than those 1 million people all put together. So you'll still get that, but you'll have legitimate people up there, not the corrupt motherfuckers who are the majority of the people that own the wealth today. None of them earns it. They're just close to the money printer. And
but also to that, the 1 million people who Jeff Bezos is richer than, they'll be able to actually live. They won't have the floor taken away or the rug pulled from underneath them all the time. That's the kind of flip side of it, because the three of us are very much in the middle, and we're trying to climb our way out of it. But not really out the middle, but out of the kind of like grind. But it's like every year, the rug gets pulled. We have to try and invest our money as best we can in order to climb that ladder to a secure retirement.
It's a great point, actually, because I think the biggest thing, I think one of the important things is you want that gap to be reduced, at least, or it's still going to be quite large. But ideally, what's really important is the bottom should be as high as possible, and so that those people aren't in poverty. And that's what a Bitcoin standard will enable people to do again. Just save, just being able to you don't need to be a financial advisor or a property guru to be able to just pass money down to your kids. Grandmas should be able to just as they did back in the day, you just save a bit of money under the mattress, a bit of gold under the floorboards, and that's the family's wealth, and you pass it down and it grows in value over time. That has been stolen from us the last 100 years. You can't do that anymore. Your granny can't put a bit of money in a bank account or a bit of money under the mattress and give it to her grandkids when she goes, because it's going to be worthless by the time she passes it on. Moving to a Bitcoin standard enables people just to do basic saving again without needing to think about it and pass it down generation to generation. And that's all you really need. You want your kids just getting off zero, getting a little bit of a head start. And that's been stolen from people the last 100 years.
And I hope it helped reduce the government's involvement in our life. It's kind of peaked over the last year with lockdowns. With a sound money, they wouldn't be able to do that. They would not be able to lock down. Oh, we want to lock down. Well, who's going to fucking pay for it? So I'm not paying that dickhead tax. And also, I think they'd struggle to take so much tax as well.
Well, no one was earning any money, so there was no tax to take.
Yeah. I mean, in general, I think they'd struggle to take as much tax as they do right now. Do you think everything is taxed on? We've talked about it before. You get income tax, you get national insurance, and then you get VAT, you get fuel tax. Then every product you buy, that's had corporation tax taken off it. It's had income tax taken off it. So literally the money which you're actually using is such a small fraction of what you've actually earned or think you've earned.
That's a good point.
Indeed. Should we move on to the last topic, a nice little light ender?
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen it on Bitcoin Twitter. The last week or so, there's been quite a few arguments. I think there's been a few introductions of a few women on Bitcoin Twitter who like posting selfies, and then the usual toxic Bitcoin maximalist has been posting underneath a little bit looking good today, little kind of comments that a bit out of character. They don't normally do it. So there's been a couple of Bitcoiners have just gone after these guys and gone, simp, you're a simp. And a couple of them reacted quite badly and went, just fuck off, leave me alone, don't like this. And again, it's a little bit like the whole, how do you handle it? When you get caught simping, just own it. Just freaking put your hands up and go, hands up, guys. She was fit, I was simping. And everyone just goes, yeah, we've all done it. It's all right. Don't worry. But if you actually stand there and go, nah, you're out of order, fuck off, I can do what I want. Everyone's like, yeah, we know you can do what you want. Just admit you were simping and it's all good. And yeah, it's just a little bit of drama. So I was just wondering, what do you think? Do you think commenting on a girls, they're pretending to be Bitcoiners, and just if they say oh, I'm having a nice morning, here's me with my cup of coffee. If you comment on that, going just some kind of conversational, do you think that's being a simp?
I mean, fucking almost. I haven't seen the pictures, but I'm taking me the Instagram post where it's oh, it's a lovely morning. I'm just doing yoga in my tightest yoga pants I can find. Yeah, then you get a load of simps going, oh, you're amazing, marry me, blah blah blah, and it's just you're a fucking disgrace to our gender.
Yeah, it's not as bad as that. It's not Instagram stuff, but it's been similar to that.
Well, this is the problem. The social medias are almost merging in a way, because that is Instagram behavior, even Facebook, and then LinkedIn is literally turning into Facebook at the moment with all the playground arguments on it, which you get involved in.
Yeah, I definitely see the socials merging, and LinkedIn was purely business orientated. In a way, it's helping a little bit because people are a little bit more friendlier to want to be open to talking, because it's there for networking. Yes, I am contacting you to do business, not just because I want to increase my numbers. So I think in that way it's good, but in the other way of yeah, I'm just posing here with the kids and all of that. Like, yeah, it's not good. And I noticed that I guess the softer topics of what people are doing. So, we did our bike ride and we got nearly 100 likes. But if I actually said something about business or even about Bitcoin, it's nowhere near that at all. One or two, couple of comments, and that's it. Whereas, yeah, everything else is just happy days because it's light and fluffy.
I just logged into LinkedIn just to scroll down 3 posts, and there we go. Someone's posted, which one of my contacts has liked, getting their dog to the new office. There's a guy pretending to work in front of his Apple laptop with a dog on his knee in an office. And I'm just like...
Yeah.
That's the weirdest thing about LinkedIn is I always get annoyed about it because when you put a lame post like that up about, you've done a bike ride, like, okay, great, you get 100 likes. Then when you actually spend a lot of time like writing an article or something and putting something out, that those same 100 people saw it, but they didn't press like. And it's just, what is this platform really for? Really, it is Facebook, but for work contacts. That is genuinely how people use it. We pretend it's not, but when you look at what gets engagement, it's always the fluffy stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. The fluffy stuff gets the likes, gets the views. I mean, that article alone had over 3,000 views, and I was just like, wow, it's amazing. But I put something meaningful out there, or I reshare something that you've said, because you have the time in your derogatory tone to be able to. I do always read stuff and think, yeah, that's Gaz talking, and think, hardly get any interaction.
Yeah, I might have to write another article and I hate my readers. I love it. I slag my readers off as they're reading it, like in before as I'm writing. I slag you off.
I think you're on everyone's bad books at the moment after last week.
With your, I have to double down on that.
With your Bitty and his winter dividends.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to double down. But yeah, I literally I've only logged into LinkedIn like every 2 or 3 weeks, and so I literally since last week I haven't even logged in. I don't even know what's going on in LinkedIn.
I've been waiting for you to comment. Been waiting with bated breath to see
on what.
Just see if you're going to comment on something. So
on anything. Okay. Yeah. No, I'm back to Twitter. Twitter's my home. That's where that's where I spread the most shit.
Yeah, but it's hilarious.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll give you a bit more entertainment, but it's like it's the problem is I don't get enough like getting like 90 likes on one comment. I did one comment last week, fucking one comment, and it went fucking crazy. And then I just got a load of shit from loads of people, and I'm like, okay, well, you have no clue who I am on Twitter because like this is just a daily occurrence for me. Like, this isn't news. Like I do 20 of these a day usually. I do one on LinkedIn, and I've got like old work colleagues from around like the world texting me going, I think you've started something here, like you might want to delete it. I'm like, no, this is exactly my intention. I want you to read this. I wouldn't have said it if I didn't want you to know it. I'm not saying this in private. That's why I did it under my named account on LinkedIn.
Yeah, why do I need to remove it when I don't even work for a company?
Yeah.
I wonder if anyone's tried to contact the GVG about it, because you do get people doing that. Like one of our mutual friends, he had some kind of like argument on Twitter, and they tracked him down and said, you work at blah blah blah, and he's like, well, actually I don't. I never have my most recent employment. And it's just like that kind of level of trying to cancel people as such as horrendous. I don't like your view, so I'm going to go to your employer and try and stir up shit.
Yeah. And the thing is that I always, the stuff that I always say, even if I was employed, I would still stand behind it and go, why does this question my ability to do my job? Because I'm quite forward and quite out there with my opinions, but I would like good luck trying to find me discriminating against a group of people. I don't do that. I'm strong on my opinions, but I am largely attacking a government and just promoting Bitcoin. It's like, I don't get dragged into, or like the rest of the politics stuff is very, very murky. Once you get into all the gender stuff, the racial stuff, the sexism, that's murky waters. And I don't have strong opinions on all that. I largely stay out of it and just go, look, let people do what they want. And where I have strong opinions is on the government stuff and on letting people have rights. And the vaccine thing, for whatever reason, is super controversial. And if you tell people that I don't believe you should have it, then people just lose their shit and start texting you going, I don't think you should say that in public. I'm like, well, fuck you. I'm going to say it.
You mean just like lockdowns, how we shouldn't have lockdowns, they've never been proven to work and they still aren't proven to work, yet we still seem to think they're a miracle cure.
Yeah. And it's crazy, the fact that people are scared. And if anything, I get the text I get from people when I reply and go, did you agree? They were like, yeah. It's like, well, there you go then. That's why I said it.
Yeah.
One of the things about those kind of points around government and then all the kind of section problems at the moment, or rather issues, is I think we discussed it before. It's kind of like governments rule by dividing. Divide and conquer, divide and rule, whatever you want to call it. And that is,
split generally get the plebs fighting each other.
Yeah, so let them argue about racism, let them argue around gender equality or new genders or whatever the hell they want, and they'll just keep their eyes off us as we're fucking them over.
Whilst I've just been on LinkedIn, by the way, I've seen that Nick Battaglia, author of Layered Money, is going to be debuting the thesis of his second Bitcoin book on July 14th. And it's interesting because when I came across his book it was February of this year, and I said, wow, this is amazing. I didn't say that it wasn't, Bitcoin standard-esque, but it was a very, very good book nonetheless, and obviously one that I've heavily recommended. It's hard to beat good old Saifedean, of course, but he's already on to making a second one, and I think it's something along the lines of abundance in scarcity and valuing Bitcoin in 2021. So I'll keep a lookout for that, and I'll definitely be updating the podcast on that one as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
That sounds like two good books recommendations coming out later this year.
Yeah.
That's what we need.
Yeah.
Really good, well thought out, decent content. I always think like books do tend to be good. I do find like it's quite hard to get into it. But if you do, like the fact that like an intelligent person does spend and writes like 10, 20,000 words and puts into a book, they do tend to be pretty decent. Sometimes it can just be one talking point and fluff, but if you get a good author, it's actually 10,000 words of their best thinking, heavily edited down. There would have been 50,000, but a good editor has cut it all back, and now it's just like golden nugget after golden nugget after golden nugget. And so yeah, hopefully it's another one.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Ray Dalio's Principles, it's long, but it's a hell of a book. And so, yeah, again, I'm really looking forward to what he's got to say now that he's been converted to become a Bitcoiner too.
Yeah, it's either going to become a hero after that book, or we're going to hate him. It all depends where he goes. He's on a tightrope, isn't he? If he suggests the Bitcoin standard is like part of the route to safety and it's a good hedge, then welcome to the club. If he knows it's a short-term kind of like profit thing, then he's gonna get freaking dragged to the bus and we're gonna beat him to a pulp.
I'm sure he's probably seen a lot of it as well and gone, yeah, maybe I don't want that heat. I don't want that work.
Depends who he's scared of the most, the bankers or the Bitcoiners.
Yeah, exactly. One thing actually, talking of fights, Poirier versus McGregor 3. What's the date set on that?
This Saturday.
Yeah, I feel like there's been zero promotion to this.
Oh, well, I don't know. It depends who you follow, but like, there's been loads on my YouTube and Twitter. It's all over it. They're doing little videos, spoilers. The problem is, there've been no like face-to-faces yet.
That's what I mean.
They're doing all the face-offs and all that. They haven't had a press conference yet either. Yeah, but I think it's slightly because of COVID, so a lot of that's gone. so they're doing things remote, the odd interviews coming out, but you don't get those like 1 month before a fight press conferences with the fighters like talking shit. But they're doing their independent videos, and Connor's been trolling him for weeks. Like, honest, he's been like saying he's got a stupid P-head, he's a hillbilly. Like, it's all the old Connor's coming back. But so it could be a proper epic weekend of sport. It could be a Connor fight, and it's the Euros, the final. So if England are in it, obviously I'm come back round to be a Connor fan now. I've kind of forgiven him for his transgressions. It's been long enough. So if Connor wins and then England win, well, what a weekend that'll be.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. Awesome.
Anyway, I think Italy and Spain are going to penalties from the looks of it. So should we end this?
Yeah,
like,
everyone seems to be
watch the drama.
Yeah, everyone seems to be cramping up, don't they? So yeah, they're just going to play it out. It's been a good game, I thought.
It's been all right. It's been a bit uncontrolled. So I always thought Italy would be a bit more tactically astute, but they're not really.
Yeah.
Which does play into England's hand a little. And Spain just seem to charge everywhere, but don't have any end product.
How do you think England, having looked at, and I appreciate, we've been on the podcast, but have you seen anything that England couldn't handle or should fear from this?
I think it's whether the attack performs. Say if we get Italy, it's Italy has some seasoned defenders. So if they want to shut up shop, they're well capable. And it's just whether England's players are creative enough to get past that. For Spain, I think it's a lot of noise without a lot of outcome. Yeah. So I'm quite confident about Spain with Italy. Bit iffy at times, but I think England have got the players. It's just whether they actually can combine to slaughter one of these teams.
Yeah. I think again it's going to be which team is best. Because like the best players are gone, like France, Belgium, Germany.
What do you mean,
Netherlands?
Harry Maguire's still in.
He means outside of England.
Like when you look at like Italy and Spain's team, like they don't have any like outstanding attacking, and their defenses are relatively old. Their midfielders are like relatively young.
Yeah, I think literally like Italy's star players Verratti, who's their centre mid, and then Spain, I've got absolutely no idea who their star player is.
It's probably Torres for this Man City winger, but he's not a star. He's
he looks promising, and Dani Olmo on the other wing's quite promising. But and then they got Koke, but still, it's no one like who you go that's a player.
Yeah, I fancy against both of these teams. I fancy England. I think we can beat these two. I would rather play one of these two in the semis and play Denmark in the final. I think Denmark's a harder game because Denmark are a galvanized team that are just would die for each other on the pitch.
They're emotionally charged, aren't they?
Yeah.
You don't want to play a team like that.
They could be the Greece again, couldn't they? Fairy tale.
Yeah. Italy and Spain just look like they're just half-baked teams that don't have any end product. Like we're playing France or a Netherlands or a Belgium, I'd be shit scared and go, we've got no chance. Just teams on paper just.
Yeah, you look at the England team, you've got the attacking talent, you've got Kane, and like you think all those years when there's literally you had a fat Rooney and Darren Bent or Crouch or someone, whereas now you got Kane in the backups, Calvert-Lewin who scored like 15, 20 goals. You've then got Sancho, Rashford, Sterling, Grealish, Mount. You've got all these players who are actually really quality and very young as well.
Yeah.
And Saka as well, as another attacking mid. You've got like 5-6 players there who are around about 21, 22. So that's 10 years of them, plus whatever players come through on top of that who are, 18, 16. So I think the next 10 years should be good as long as England.
And they've raised the standard as well, won't they? Because essentially, if they get into the England squad, they'll be learning from the senior players, albeit they're not necessarily senior in years, but going through those ranks, it should be really good.
Yeah, and there's decent players who are meant to be coming through. On top of that, like Arsenal got a few, Liverpool got a few, Man U have got a few as well. And there's some Aston Villa mid who's meant to be absolutely immense. So it does actually look quite bright after 10 years of crap.
Yeah. Hopefully the gene pool's started to kick in.
Just need a goalkeeper to come along.
Well, Pickford's okay for England.
The last 5 games, he's been class. I can't fault him.
Famous last words.
Would you trust him to catch like the family like prize China or something?
I wouldn't trust him to hold my kid. He'd drop it.
No.
But all I can say is I hate that guy. I don't think he can make a save. But the last 5 games, he's had a couple of things to do, a couple of difficult-ish saves. I don't think anything worldy, but a couple of difficult-ish saves. He's dealt with everything brilliantly. He's just grabbed it. The ball's like stuck to him like glue. Nothing's bouncing off him. Nothing's looking dodgy. I can't fault
decision making and positioning is a lot stronger in England's shirt.
Yeah.
Here's a player who I don't understand has had as good a career as he has, Morata. How has he hit those levels like Real Madrid, Juventus, Chelsea, Atletico? He's literally a 1 in 4 striker.
He was getting death threats at the beginning of the Euros.
He is shite.
Then he scored a brace, I think, the week after, and it all went away. And now they're in the semi. So it's I don't know. I think for me, Morata and Benzema are my 2 myth players. They're held up.
Benzema scored goals.
Yeah, but for really stupidly good teams, and he's surrounded in Ronaldo's and Messi's around.
Yeah, but Morata's played for those teams, and he scored 1 in 4. But he still manages to get transfers to other top teams.
I know, it's just weird, isn't it? Like those 2 guys, I think whenever their names are said, they just get they ring as top, and they just go around Inter Milan, Juventus, Real Madrid, Chelsea. They just rotate around them. I don't know. So I think it's like Fat Sam getting a job every week. That's just the same myth.
Well, I think Fat Sam seems to have run out of time now with West Brom.
Yeah.
So he'd never got relegated before, and he'd done it with like 4 teams or something. But him getting relegated, it's just broken my charm. So I think everyone's going to ignore him now.
And Benitez at Everton. That's a fucking travesty.
I don't know, because obviously you want him to do well because, he's manager of Liverpool and everyone loves him. But
no, you can't say that.
But
I want him to get sacked in a month.
Yeah, and his family still lives on the Wirral, so you're kind of going, he's got what he wants, but it's for Everton. And the fans were trying to put up bed sheets saying we'll kill you or whatever, and it's just like, you are fucking idiots. He's the best manager you will get.
Yeah. No, that was Liverpool fans doing that. It was. Liverpool fans were the ones saying we know where you live, threatening, don't take the Everton job. It wasn't Everton fans doing that. It was Liverpool fans trying to intimidate him to not take it.
No, it's the Everton fans.
I think it was. Why would they do it? They want him.
They didn't want him because he was a Liverpool manager.
He's class. They've embraced him now, from what I can see.
Damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. From both sides.
I think in reality, if you do pick Liverpool or Everton or Man United and stuff like that, I think you just know that you can only do one of them out of the 3, and one, especially if you do it for a long time. If you're kind of in and then you get sacked in disgrace, then you can probably maybe do another because the fans haven't embraced you, so you can probably build a following somewhere else. But when you win the Champions League of Liverpool, that just means now you cannot manage Man United or Everton. You just cannot fucking do it, no matter how much money they throw at you. And
he managed Chelsea and Everton.
Yeah. And weirdly, the Chelsea one was kind of fun. It was he was interim, wasn't he? He's the interim one. So, and Chelsea isn't really a rival to Liverpool. You can't ban him from the whole Premiership. That's understandable.
Yeah.
But Everton's that's a fucking hell. 2 miles down the road, don't do it. And he's done it. And I hope he gets fired in 3 months. Fired before Christmas, that's what I hope.
Yeah.
Anyway, boys, penalties about to kick off. I'm going to go watch it.
Okay. Good talking as always. Speak to you later. Yeah. Fellow plebs, if you want to hear us, then tune in.